with the newest developments out of Haiti this week. Haiti's newly installed Transitional Council has chosen its former sports minister to be the nation's next prime minister. Fritz Belazer replaces Michel Patrick Boisvert, who was the interim prime minister. The country's new Transitional Council has been trying to create a stable new government as violence continues to choke the capital and beyond. Joining us now to talk about what's going on in the Caribbean nation is Deputy Assistant Secretary for Caribbean Affairs Barbara Feinstein. Secretary Feinstein, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I know that you have been working for many years dealing with the Caribbean, specifically Haiti and Cuba. But obviously, let's talk about Haiti. The Transitional Government Council has already been installed. Ariel Henry stepped down. So what are you hearing about this council? Is it being accepted in Haiti?
So I think as we look at the month of May, especially here in the United States and Haitian Heritage Month, our hope is certainly that we can turn a page, including with the installation of this Transitional Presidential Council, and with that hopefully begin to take steps to put Haiti on a path of greater prosperity, security, and most importantly, elections as soon as is feasible.
What is the role of the Bureau?
So our support for Haiti, I would say, is quite broad in terms of support for humanitarian assistance, support for security assistance. As you know, there is a high priority on securing, as you referenced in the opening, the just horrific levels of violence that we are seeing, gang violence in Port-au-Prince and in other parts of the country. And so what we are doing is trying to work with our partners in the international community, including in the Caribbean community, CARICOM, on support for the many facets of this problem. We've just been talking about the political, so we appreciate that these are discussions that have been going on among Haitians for a very long time, and so providing support to CARICOM and other actors to help to find some stability for this process. At the same time, providing humanitarian assistance in the immediate term, and then in the longer term, working with partners to stand up a multinational security support mission to be able to provide support to the Haitian National Police to bring law and order and then usher in elections.
What is the state of the embassy there? I imagine it's working on a skeleton crew.
So we remain on order departure due to the security situation on the ground. However, there are staff operating in Port-au-Prince. We have a new ambassador who arrived not long ago and who will hopefully shortly be presenting his official credentials to this new Transitional Presidential Council. And that team on the ground also stands ready to provide support to American citizens and those in need in Port-au-Prince and throughout the country.
You mentioned American citizens. Do you have a number as to how many are still in Haiti right now?
So we actively monitor requests that we get for support and assistance. We don't have a precise number. It's hard to know that unless folks reach out specifically to the embassy. To that end, we have been providing, as you know, support for evacuations for those who want to leave Haiti. And to date, we have safely evacuated more than 1,200 American citizens and continue to be responsive to needs as they present themselves.
When you talk about needs, medical needs are a very important part of what's happening there. And I was reading reports that the situation is dire. Medicine is running extremely low. The hospitals were attacked. So what is the state right now with the medical situation there?
So the situation is desperately difficult, as you describe. I have been to Haiti over the years many times, and I have never seen it as challenging and terrible in terms of the humanitarian situation. So we, as the United States, are the largest humanitarian donor in Haiti. We continue to provide assistance, continue to find ways to get it in, but it is very challenging when you look at the port and containers being raided, roads being blocked, inability to even get to clinics, gangs even attacking clinics, attacking doctors, attacking patients. It is a desperately difficult situation. I think the progress that you have seen in recent days in terms of flights coming, U.S. flights, frankly, coming into the airport should be seen as a sign of progress, and we would hope that we will see a return to commercial travel into Port-au-Prince, which would be able to bring in some of those desperately needed supplies.
What about the ports? Do the gangs still have have control of the port?
So what we've seen is with the ports as well as other parts of key infrastructure is that when the Haitian National Police undertakes an operation, they are able to successfully conduct the operation and take back control. Unfortunately, because they are outnumbered and outgunned by these gangs, they are not then able to keep that and a hold on that infrastructure. And so what happens is then when there's a threat on the airport, a threat on another key installation, whether it's the palace or elsewhere, then the Haitian National Police need to pull away and move to that other location. So I think that's what gives us greater confidence that with the deployment of some kind of multinational security support mission, they would be able to support the HNP that have shown incredible bravery, strength, fortitude, and strategic planning to be able to conduct those successful operations.
We've also been reporting on deportations, people that have tried to make it here that have been sent back. What's the status with that?
So as you know, U.S. policy is that anyone who arrives here, a non-citizen without a legal basis, is subject to removal or return. Under this administration, we have put in place more legal pathways, including for Haitians, than any other, I think, in the past several decades. But the policy remains that if people are unable to establish that legal basis, then they will be returned.
Is there any talk of TPS or any other type of status for Haitians that are trying to get here?
So I think primarily in terms of legal pathways, there is TPS, as you mentioned, which is not yet expired. So I think the administration will be looking at it as it comes upon expiration to make a determination as to next steps. And I would defer to my colleagues in the Department of Homeland Security on that. And then, of course, the Humanitarian Parole Program is another legal pathway. At the same time, I think we all recognize the root causes that would drive Haitians or anyone in such a challenging place to leave, which are obviously not just security, but also economic and governance, rule of law issues. So to that end, we're also working on a broad scale on a plan to enhance security, provide the kind of humanitarian assistance, and help to support the government to put the country on a path to restore democratic order.
Secretary Feinstein, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.